against him. On the morning of January 8th, Trump posted two relatively innocuous tweets, one thanking the 75 million great American patriots who voted for him, the other saying he would not be attending the inauguration. Here's what top executive said. I don't see the incitement of fear. I think we'd have a hard time saying this is incitement. Don't see the incitement angle here. And top policy official Anika Navaroli said the safety unit has assessed the DJT tweet and determined there is no violation of our policies. It didn't matter. The liberal company simply ignored these top executives, declared that those two tweets were an incitement to violence, and permanently suspended the president. Major media outlets have mostly ignored these disclosures, which were reported by independent journalists Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss. And Taibbi just did an interview with Glen Greenwald for his new online show on Rumble TV.
There's also a sort of delicious irony to using Twitter to basically defenestrate Twitter, and then also to sort of drop this enormous fetid stink bomb in the middle of what used to be the private garden of mainstream journalists.
I spoke earlier from Brazil with Greenwald, the Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. Glen Greenwald, welcome.
Great to be with you, Ali.
Well, let's start with Matt Taibbi, because when CNN finally got around to doing a segment knocking down the Twitter files, there was this lead-in from Poppy Harlow. Musk selected a handful of journalists unaffiliated with major credible news organizations.
Yeah, I mean, this is how they think. They believe that in order to be a legitimate journalist, you need to go and work for a handful of gigantic media corporations that they deem legitimate. Fox, of course, is a large media corporation, but they wouldn't consider that legitimate. And they believe that one of the most noble and important traditions in journalism, independent journalism, somehow renders you illegitimate as a journalist, even though Matt Taibbi has 10,000 more journalistic accomplishments than Poppy Harlow could ever dream of having in her life. She's so willing to degrade and malign him simply because he doesn't work for a big corporation.
Right. And, of course, as you know, Washington Post referred to Barry Weiss and Matt Taibbi as conservative journalists, then took that word out, but kind of stealth-edited. So the former Twitter safety director, Yoel Roth, who once referred to actual Nazis in the Trump White House, said after the Trump ban that multiple staffers told him that people implementing our policies are like Nazis following orders, and others outright compared Donald Trump to Hitler. I imagine that says something about the political coloration of the old Twitter.
You know, I think one of the things that we always have to go back to is the purpose of journalism, which is to shed light and transparency on what the most powerful actors in society, corporate or governmental, are doing in the most consequential decisions. All of this happened in the dark. We all had suspicions, but one of the things this did is show not just who they are, but how much their ideology infiltrated their decisions about who deserves to be heard and who doesn't, to the point that they regard half the country, the people who voted for Donald Trump, not as having the wrong views, but as actual Nazis, followers of Adolf Hitler. And so these are the most fanatical ideologues who have been in charge of our most influential social media platforms.
Right. Now, let's turn to the absolute pummeling of Elon Musk by the mainstream media. It's been going on for a while, but hasn't Musk muddied the waters a bit by suspending about a dozen journalists who cover him, in part, but not in every case, because they link to the college student who was doing the jet tracking, which Musk understandably thinks, you know, presents a threat to his family? And doesn't it give the appearance, fairly or unfairly, that he's punishing his critics in the media?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I've always been critical of prior to Elon Musk taking over Twitter was the fact that our most crucial means of communication, now social media, are being subject to the whims of arbitrary rulers, of billionaires, and whatever they decide to, which side of the bed they wake up on or who has their ear ends up being permitted or not. Elon Musk came into Twitter promising free speech absolutism, and he defined that as being you can say anything the law permits. And since then, there have been a lot of bannings, Kanye West being one, and now these journalists being others, of people who, however much you might dislike what they're saying, can't conceivably be defined as illegal. And so clearly what's happening is it's back to being arbitrary and subject to his whims. And I think in order for him to have any credibility in making that promise of restoring free speech, what we need are consistent and clear rules, and we don't have those yet. And I think that episode shows this.
Right. He's got a lot of power as a sole owner, and he should use it in accordance with the free speech platform that he essentially ran on. Now, look, Musk voted only for Democrats until until now, including Biden. But he did urge his followers to vote Republican in the midterms as a check on the Democratic White House. He says he doesn't like the extremes of either party, but all these pieces have been written saying, no, he's a right-wing troll, he's a right-wing nut job.
Do you know that Elon Musk is one of the single largest donors to the ACLU, an organization that even when in its free speech and civil liberties heyday was really more recognized and associated as being on the left, but especially now it's become this kind of, overtly Democratic or liberal activist group. Most of their causes are the things that you associate with the Democratic Party or the left wing of American politics. So what this shows is that this term, far-right extremist, is a term that the media uses that has no relationship to actual political views or ideology. They use it for me all the time, even though I've never changed my views from when they used to call me a far leftist. And it's a term of punishment, basically to say to you, if you're not willing to agree with us, we're going to put this label on you that's supposed to be somehow damaging.
Right. You're a right-winger. You're not legitimate. You've changed and all that. Now, 4 Democratic members of Congress, including Adam Schiff, have written to Facebook demanding that the Facebook site keep Donald Trump banned into next year because they say a declared presidential candidate, well, he can still incite violence.
If there's one point that I've been emphasizing in my reporting more than any other, it's the one that I think has been most overlooked, which is that most of the time these decisions by big tech to censor are not the autonomous decisions of private corporations. Oftentimes, more often than not, they're the byproduct of pressure and coercion and even threats from Democratic Party politicians. Either censor more the people that we think should be silenced, or we'll use our power in Washington to punish you legally and through regulation. And to watch these same people now doing the same thing, keep Trump banned, then turn around and wave the banner of free speech because suddenly the people being censored are people that they like or with whom they disagree, is one of the most brazen episodes of hypocrisy I've ever seen. These are the people who constructed this regime of censorship that they're now objecting to.
Yeah, no shortage of hypocrisy here. Glen Greenwald.